Aloha! Welcome back to the Anxiety Coaches Podcast. I'm your host and coach, Gina Ryan, and I'm so happy to be with you again today as we consider the many ways to bring your mind and body back to its natural peace and calm. In today's episode, I'm talking about something a listener requested. The hormonal changes women experience as they move through midlife and how those shifts can affect anxiety. Now, I do want to say we can be talking here today about perimenopause and menopause and midlife crises and changes. But I also know that many women experience this also around their monthly hormonal shifting. We're all different, and we have very different ways in which we experience our natural hormonal changes. And there is something in here for you, even if you do not or have never experienced hormonal changes, because I bet there is someone in your life who does or has, and this may help you to understand them better. And so I want to begin by saying that all of this hormonal ups and downs are a natural part of life. You are not broken, and you are not, quote, losing it. Your body is transitioning. I'm speaking here mostly about perimenopause and menopausal shifting. And with the transitions can come new sensations, new emotional waves, and yes, sometimes more anxiety. And I also want to say some people, and this was myself, can have less anxiety as their hormones change, whether that be along the monthly cycle or the perimenopausal, menopausal type of cycle, or pregnancy even. So pay attention here. You may not get more, you may get less. You see how different we are. We are very complex. And I do get a lot of mail around the anxiety rising, though, around the change of life. So let's take a breath here together, and let's make this conversation one of honesty, warmth, and let's all be curious. Like I said, we are all different and quite complex. So being curious is our entryway into more understanding. Yes, anxiety can be increasing during midlife, and it isn't just about hormones. It's also about identity. As Dr. Christiane Northrup says, the nervous system is being rewired at this time of life, and many women are beginning to say, "What about me?" So how are we going to be undertaking this transition in life? For many women, anxiety starts to change in the perimenopause and menopausal years, and that can look like feeling more on edge, having different thoughts about life's situation, bursts of worry or panic that seem to come out of nowhere, maybe trouble coping with stress that never used to faze you in the past. There may be emotional swings, perhaps sleep disruptions that make everything else in life seem harder. If you're nodding along, you are not alone. This isn't character weakness. This isn't lack of resilience. It's not that you aren't strong. It's physiology, plus life experience, plus nervous system sensitivity, all arriving at the same moment. Your hormones are shifting, and hormones are chemical messengers. They talk directly to your brain and your nervous system. So what is happening in the body? Let's take a little bit of a look at that, because as estrogen and progesterone fluctuate and eventually decline, a few key things can begin to happen. Estrogen has a calming effect on the brain. So when the levels dip, mood and stress tolerance can dip too. Progesterone supports our natural calming neurotransmitters, especially GABA. So when the progesterone drops, that inner sense of I can exhale, I can relax, can feel harder to access. Sleep can become more disrupted, and we know that poor sleep makes anxiety louder. So those hormonal changes can be disrupting the way you slept before. And you may just begin to notice that. The nervous system becomes more sensitive during this time. Not weaker, not damaged or broken, just more alert. It has become more sensitive. I like to think of it like your body is asking for new care, new rhythms, new kindness. We can look at it as if you're not less capable, you're simply recalibrating. And it's a change you cannot go around over or cut out. It's a change that will happen in your life one way or another. But you are not less capable. If you've ever thought, I used to handle so much more, I could do all these things, what's wrong with me? I want you to take a pause if that is a thought that you have had. Take a breath, because nothing is wrong. Your body is recalibrating. And this stage of life asks us to actually shift, to move from powering through to actually partnering with ourselves. Not often talked about. We talk about the medical hormonal fix-it way of all of this life change. But midlife brings more than that hormonal change. It also brings decades of accumulated stress, accumulated responsibilities and caretaking, identity roles, and expectations. It's definitely a full plate. And this transition often invites us to set some of that plate down. We can look for support for our nervous system. So let's talk about practices that can help that, because there's so much support available. There are nervous system tools, and you may be already practicing some of these. But if not, wake up and see that this may very well be helping you in this transitional time. Slow exhale breathing. You've heard me say it almost every time I am on here. Even just 4 slow breaths can calm the system down. A system that is now a little bit more sensitive than it used to be may need a little bit more attention, and you actually taking 4 slow breaths to take care of yourself. A soothing phrase or mantra can be helpful. Something like, I can meet this one breath at a time. Why not come up with a soothing phrase or mantra that soothes your soul? Practice in your journal writing out some thoughts, things you've heard on here or other places, and see what you can keep saying over and over so that it becomes part of your heart. Another tool could be gentle grounding, especially at this time, because we can feel almost like we are out of our body with the changes in thoughts that are different. Feeling your feet on the floor or inside your shoes can feel awesome. It can really ground you, as can putting your hand on your heart. I want you to give yourself support, self-support instead of self-criticism. And once we've been supporting ourselves, we might want to look at some lifestyle changes that we can be making, lifestyle shifts that can actually help us beyond us being kind and breathing slow. We can eat in a way that stabilizes our energy and our blood sugar. Again, this is going to be very individual, and I'm not going to go off on a tangent that I could spend an hour talking about here. But I want you to look into this. If you have noticed that you are having energy dips or blood sugar changes that are making you feel uncomfortable or out of sorts or tired. So eat in a way that is stabilizing your energy and your blood sugar. Strength training can be a lifestyle change that can really help, because this is a time where we may have been so busy in other people's lives that we have neglected our own way of staying strong. What about walking? Walking can be an awesome way of getting out and about in nature and a way of letting our thoughts settle as we pound the pavement, so to speak. Or how about dancing? A wonderful way to reconnect with yourself, with your rhythm, with you, your soul. Or Tai Chi or yoga as ways of getting your body moving and becoming reacquainted with it. Prioritize your sleep. This could be a lifestyle change that can be very helpful because we often cut sleep short. And this may be a time where you are in need of more sleep. And prioritize that sleep with compassion, not perfection. If you need more sleep than usual, adjust your schedule to accommodate it, not fight it. It's going to continue to change as you journey through your perimenopause and menopausal time, and your sleep will change throughout. So if right now you need more sleep, please, with compassion, accommodate that need. You could create moments of pause throughout your day. This could be helpful. Let yourself reflect and dream and not rush from one thing to the next all day long. That may have become a habit, and you may have lost your self-reflection and dream time. Now, not as another thing to do on the to-do list or way to fix yourself. All of these things are not for fixing. They are for nourishment as a partnership with yourself. I want to take a moment here to look at the emotional layer of this time of life and how that may alone be bringing up anxiety more and more. Midlife is not just about the hormonal transition. Like I said earlier, it's an identity transition. Women often feel less interested in pleasing others at this time. And this can be a rude awakening to those around you. And it can be jolting to yourself because you may have spent your whole life, depending on your role in the family, as the one who took care of everything and kept everything pleasing to most. And this could be changing inside you, and it may be causing you to feel like, who am I? Why am I feeling like this? What's wrong with me? Nothing wrong. Just notice it as an identity transition and play with it. Be gentle with yourself. You may be more drawn to authenticity, whereas in the past you may have just let things slide by. Again, it can be dependent on what your roles have been in the family and work and your society, but you may be drawn to being more authentically you than you have been in the past. You may also be having a desire to simplify your life, to have it be less complex, to have things more easeful. And that may be a new idea. Maybe you were good with all of the hubbub in the past, and now you're feeling a little less wanting to be so complicated, to have so much going on. There may be a desire to simplify. Another thing that can happen is women get a pull toward clarity and boundaries. It's almost like this new self-reflection is pulling up thoughts that you would like to have things be more clear and to have boundaries that maybe you had ignored in the past. And maybe that bothered you. Now, the reason that some of these things I am talking about is because these kinds of thoughts of wanting more boundaries to simplify your life or to be different and more authentic than you had been in the past can actually make women feel anxious. Like, what on earth is going on? Why do I feel like this? Anxiety sometimes rises right alongside a deeper knowing. I'm not willing to abandon myself anymore. Now, this stage is not a decline. It's a recalibration toward courage, truth, and steadiness. And that is not being broken, but more like birthing a new version of yourself. Christiane Northrup says midlife is not just a hormonal transition, it's an identity transition. And she goes on to say there is much, much more to this midlife transition than raging hormones. Our bodies, and specifically our nervous systems, are being, quite literally, rewired. This means that what you're feeling now may be less about failing systems and more about emerging self-systems. She goes on to say that many women in midlife ask, "What about me?" And indeed, the shift is often from being defined primarily by others' needs, being a wife, a mother, a daughter, into asking, "What do I want? What parts of me have I left dormant?" So yes, hormones, but also identity. The nervous system feels more sensitive because you are becoming. The old version of you is receding and a new version is emerging. So if you're in this season, I want you to hear this. You are not alone. You are not too much. Your nervous system is not failing you. It's asking for tenderness and tuning in. And with that alone, your anxiety will decrease by tuning in. You are growing through a profound chapter in your life. And on the other side is resilience, clarity, and often a deeper sense of inner peace. I would love to hear your experience. What has this stage brought up for you? What has helped you feel grounded and supported? Send me your thoughts, your questions, your stories. They help shape these conversations that we have here, and they help other listeners feel less alone. And if this episode spoke to you, please share it with another woman who may be moving through this transition too. Thank you so much for being here. Please be gentle with yourself, and I'll see you next time. And now for today's quote. Midlife is when a woman awakens to her power. Not the power of youth, but the power of depth. And that's from Clarissa Pinkola Estes. I'll be back in a few more days with another podcast. Until then, be well and aloha.